Emotions can help you with business? What? Welcome to the Joyous Expansion Podcast. I'm your host, Brett Dupree, scouring the globe to bring you stories of courage, passion, and resilience. If I could sum up this podcast into one word, I would use empathy. Now let's get inspired. Welcome to the Joyous Expansion Podcast. I am your host, Brett Dupree, here to drop episode 34 upon you. Isn't that cool? This is my Herschel Walker episode. Or do you prefer Earl Campbell? Can't think of any baseball people with 34 off the top of my head. But that is exciting. Today's podcast, we have someone named Nikki Barron who impressed the heck out of me, and that's why her episode kind of got bumped up. Plus, I met her in person, and I generally put people I met in person in front of people who I find on the internet. I'm sorry if you're an internet person. I am just being honest, but internet only, I should say. Plus, she really impressed me in how she sent me so much. She scheduled the week I asked. She sent me everything without me re-asking. And she even answered every question, even though I didn't ask them to be answered. This person is a go-getter, and that should be rewarded, in my opinion. Plus, meeting them in person is extra cool. Next part, though, is my first part. And this is the part where I talk vulnerably about myself, if that's how you say that through English. So basically, if I can't be vulnerable what's going on in my life, how can I ask my guests to be vulnerable talking about them? So the first part, I always talk about me, the glorious me. And this week has been thinking a lot about emotions. I am on the downward trend of my weight, which is always feeling good. Things are feeling in alignment. 3 years ago today, I accepted a job that eventually would get fired for, which just made me think about how my emotions weren't aligned with my desires at that time. And that's another reason why I feel like kismet or a synchronicity of wanting to do Nikki Barron's interview this week, because it just got me thinking into what I need to be thinking about. In fact, I changed the commandment to the Joyous Church of Awesome just because of that interview. It was one I was thinking of using, and as I was listening to it, which is align your emotions or embrace your emotions, which I think is very important. And I've just been thinking about that lately, especially I went to a event today where someone was working on getting me aligned with her vision, and the passion and her drive was something that inspired me. But thinking about my life, how is my passion? How is my drive? Where is it? Basically, because at this time I want to be doing in live event, or at least one, and so far I've done the grand total of 0 live Church of Awesome events type things. I have an idea, but I haven't been putting it to fruition. I've also been thinking about how this year my weight loss journey generally is awesome from January until March, April, May, and June is when it generally dissipates and crashes and burns. However, this time it kind of meandered through the 6 months, and the last June was my best month in a while, and July has been kind of meandering, but I'm still on the trend of being where I want to go. And I was wondering why that is. Why am I not starting? And the idea that I have in my brain is the fact that maybe, just maybe, I'm afraid to fail, so I'm not getting started. And since my MO of failure is being excited about something, and being excited about something, and then no longer than failing, and then being kind of disheartened and then not going at it. There's part of me who really wants to get that down, who really wants to move past that, and such this desire that I have is to the point where I even have a therapist to go for it, but I believe it's stopping me from actually starting, because then I would actually have to do it. And so my momentum is not where it was in the last couple years in this first 6 months of the year. It's not like I haven't been doing much. I've been continuing this podcast, the Lightworker Toastmasters. And so I'm not saying I haven't been doing nothing. It's just I know I could be doing more, and I am stopping myself from doing it, even though I know how to do all the things. I have the EFT, the NLP, all those fun aspects of my life that I understand how to use it, but to utilize it, I am not. And so listening to someone who's so driven, so amazingly driven, is inspiring. And so that just got me thinking about that, thinking about my desire to get started. Being that I started the Church of Awesome podcast, and this week I did a 5-day Facebook challenge to get it to rewrite some things about it, including the welcome message and the cover letter, a few things that I was procrastinating for. And I was procrastinating. I don't think you see procrastinating. So I felt good getting that done, though. I felt good spending some time every day doing that and expressing my desire. So there's also a few things on my website that I've been procrastinating. Though I'm ahead. I mean, this is Sunday and I probably can get this podcast out today, which is cool. I like that. I don't want to say it's been all bad because it hasn't been. I have been doing some good. It's been some good and some not so good. So basically what I'm saying is that's life, I guess, sometimes. Life is pushing forward and wanting to do the best you can, and that's what I'm working on. Being the best I can. And now that I can walk better and feel less pain, I believe I can really move on to it's time to make the next step. I've said that. I've made the next step over and over and over again. But this is my last time. This is the decision I made. I believe it's making the decision that this is the time you're really going to figure it out has made me kind of afraid to get started so that I can't fail after I made that declaration. So that is Therapy Time with Brett Dupree, where he talks about himself. I don't know if that was too vague. Well, anyway, let me tell you about Nikki Barron, somebody who I met at a party on on 4th of July, which, if you know, this is actually a pretty fast turnover for my podcast. Met her on 4th of July, scheduled it, said, wow, this person throws a good party, helping someone with their fundraiser Indiegogo campaign for their album, and it was a success. I mean, it raised like $500 for that one night, a party with a decent amount of creative people, and raised money for it. So that's really cool. And some nice performances. It was a great party. I was very impressed. And that's one reason why I want to have her on, because I was extremely impressed with what she accomplished. And also her house had air conditioning, which makes me want to move in with her because it is so hot. Man, I miss air conditioning. Whew. It's nice. Anyway, this is not about air conditioning and how much I love air conditioning. This is about Nikki Barron. So let me tell you something about her. Nikki Barron is the founder of Kittenteeth, a marketing and business coaching program for creatives. Kittenteeth helps creators turn their passions into a small business. You can make a living from your art, and she can help you. And now, here's my interview with Nikki Barron. Hello, Nikki, and welcome to my podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I'm excited to have you on. I met you over 4th of July weekend at a fun fundraiser, and you throw a pretty good party.
Oh, thank you. I try.
So it says here that you are a marketing professional. You do coaching for creatives.
Yes. Yeah. So I work at a software startup called Maston Labs, and I'm head of marketing over there. But when I am not using my marketing superpowers to sell software, I use them to help creatives turn their art and passions into small businesses.
What got you started working with creatives?
I've kind of always been in that space. So even from like a really young age, I used to put on shows for all my friends' bands. We would just like rent the community center, and I would do all the logistics and marketing, and really kind of came to it early. As an artist myself who kind of has good fit in like both sides of it, I always saw the value that brought my own work. So it's been such a joy to just give that to other people and teach them how to cultivate that mindset, because it's not anything that everyone can't do. It just takes, like anything else, practice.
So was this something you felt you were innately born with? Like just a desire to put on shows and things like that?
I don't know if I was born with it. I think we're born with very little, very big on, kind of what you experience in your life really shapes you. So I don't know that I was born with it, but I'm half Latina. And I think coming from that community where it's all about bringing people together, having a good time, I think that really informed who I am today. I think that's part of it. And then just bringing the passion of music into that. Music is just, to me, like the fastest way to bring people together. I can see my people by looking at what they've been listening to recently. So it just says a lot about a person. So if I put a show on, I know I'm going to bring a bunch of people that are my people.
So how was it like putting on your first show?
Hectic, scary. We had to lie to get the community spaces to let us rent because we were not old enough to be renting anything from anyone. But it was great. And I had some really big bands come through my little hometown in Texas of Abilene. So it ended up being really cool in the end. But the first few shows were pretty stressful because we were just a bunch of kids trying to make it happen.
That's pretty exciting. It's pretty cool to be able to, at such a young age, actually, to get started on doing that.
Yeah, my parents really hated it. They never really got it. And they were just like, you are 14. Aren't you supposed to be like chasing boys, not like trying to run a small business?
So what was your drive to actually start this small business at that age? It was just the love of music and the wanting to put people out there. What got you to actually get to the point where you wanted to actually do it?
I'm such a problem solver. So I saw this problem of not being old enough to go to shows, and I couldn't drive to Austin to go see the shows I wanted to. And I knew that we were the halfway point between Dallas and Austin. And I knew that if I made a scene, then I could get the bands I wanted to see to stop in and do these shows with us. So it was really just born out of my own desire to see bands that I love and to give a space to my friends who were in bands that I also loved to do shows. So yeah, I was just a problem solver. I saw a problem and I was like, I can solve this. So that's actually how it came to happen. Yeah.
Curious, what made you move from Texas to Seattle?
Again, music. All my favorite bands were from this region. And I was like, there must be something in the water. I need that creative energy. I'm going to go move there at 21 and just, not knowing anybody and just make it happen. That's what I did. Yeah, I never even had been here. I just knew that like Death Cab and Say Hi to Your Mom were from here, and Nirvana and all the typical ones you think of. So I was like, I have to go there.
That's why I did not know Death Cab for Cutie was from here.
Yes. Yeah. They're from here. And I drive by, one of their band members has a studio in Ballard. So I drive by and I'm always just like, I'm going to go in there one day.
So it says here that you have a hard time tapping into your softer side, and art allows you to get in touch with that aspect of yourself.
I actually listened to quite a few of your episodes and it made me think about like, oh, like why do I like music? What is it about it? And it's something I've talked a little bit about to my own therapist. And it's that it's kind of like jump starting. It's when I can't get in touch with how I feel about something, I know I can listen to a record that is going to evoke those emotions and kind of get it going and like let that floodgate open. And so I think I learned from a very young age that I had this tool that I could do to get in there and feel it, because I want to feel the full range of emotions and I want all of those things. I want to be able to process things that have happened to me, both good and bad. And so just having that jumper, I guess, like jumper cables just to get me going was always something I had. As I get older, I'm trying to develop other strategies so that I don't have to use sort of a manipulation to get things going. But it really came out of this thing I was always told, and I think a lot of women are told this, where if you act that way, you'll never get what you want. So you're just always constantly trying to be analytical and trying to be like more masculine, just decision making and kind of taking the emotion out of it, because everyone tells you that if you have emotions, you're not thinking clearly and your decisions aren't going to be as strong. I just wanted to, now I want to change that, because my emotions are such a huge part of my decision making and they're nothing but a positive. They're a way that informs my decisions in a way that gives me a leg up against people who are pulling those out. So I just think hearing that message so much as a kid and as a woman, it really, really stunted that side of me. So having music to be able to tap into it was a great way to open my eyes to the fact that I was holding back, because I had to use this tool to feel it. Now it's different. Now I have different skill sets.
Well, I can't talk to it as a woman, but as a man, we are generally taught that emotions are bad and, told to be a man and all that fun things that kind of shut down emotion. Can you talk to how embracing your emotions has been a benefit in your life?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. So when I used to hold back on my emotions, it would be harder to read people. So I couldn't tell if they were pure of heart, because I was, looking at just the behaviors that they're doing, they seem to be on the up and up. But when I would read their face or read the energy that they were giving off when we would meet, I always had like a little inkling that maybe this person wasn't right or wasn't the right fit for me in partnerships at work or even in my life. But I would ignore it because no, everything on paper is right about this person. They're going to be a good partner. So tapping into my emotions and allowing that side of me, my intuition, that gut feeling to inform it has made it so that my partnerships are much stronger and more strategic because I see something in that person that's not on paper that is beneficial to what I'm trying to build. So tapping into my emotions and having that openness really benefits me in finding the right people for the right opportunities that I'm trying to give and receive. The other side of it is that I can process it and get it out of my way. So I was actually talking to a friend last night who's also an entrepreneur, has her own small business. And we were talking about the value of therapy because you can't thrash about in your emotions and how you feel about things with your employees or with your partners. You need to have a space where you can do that because you need to get unblocked. Because if you're blocked emotionally, you can't think clearly to make your decisions. So being able to tap into my emotions and work through them makes it so that I can continue to make progress. So those are kind of the major ways that I've seen bringing emotions into my life instead of where I think we're told to pull them out if you want to be successful has been beneficial.
Cool. I also like the fact that you see a therapist. I believe, as someone who's gone through my past episodes, that what I noticed is this ability to seek help and to get out of this mindset that, especially in American entrepreneurship, of pulling yourself up by your bootstraps and doing it yourself.
Yeah, therapy has been a game changer. I think it's all about finding the right person for you and finding the specialty for you and the comfort level that works. But I think there's a therapist out there for everybody, whether they call themselves a coach or the therapist or psychiatrist, whatever it is, there's somebody out there who can help you almost be a mirror. They can reflect to you because I feel like we have such good instincts and we know, but we want to block them out. So having somebody on the other side to reflect back to you is such a strong thing, both in business and just in life.
So let's talk about your transitioning into Kittenteeth. Number one, how did you come up with that name for your marketing agency?
When I was doing visual art as a teenager, I went under that moniker because they're small and sharp. And then it transitioned into my photography. And so I've just carried the name through because it still feels applicable. Can't obviously see me on here, but I'm a small person, but I'm super sharp and smart. And I think that's part of my brand is that I'm strategic. That's kind of where the name came from. So I actually did Kittenteeth. I started full time with it because I had a series of jobs that were terrible. And I'm kind of an overachiever type. So I kept internalizing it and thinking it was something that I was doing, that I was bad at my job or bad at what I do. And I had a lot of experiences in a row that weren't working. For example, the last time I had a job, I guess, before I went full-time freelance, and then I'm now with Maston Labs, but I saw all the signs and I kept pulling my emotions out and being like, no, this is great. I want this title. I want to be the director of marketing and I want all the things that are on this paper. And on paper, this company seems right. And even though my gut's saying don't do it, so I do it anyway. And there's just a series of bad things that happen. Probably the biggest, scariest one for me was that we were having a meeting. I don't know. Am I allowed to curse on your podcast? Is that okay?
Go ahead.
Okay. We're in a meeting and he just stops and he goes, you know what, Nikki? F you. And I'm little, but I am by no means meek. So I was like, me, no, f you. You can't say that to me. And then I left and I had lunch with a former boyfriend and I was telling him what happened and I was so upset. And I was, you know what? This is the last straw. I'm never working for anyone. I'm going to start my own business and I think I can do it. And he's a nice dude, but he just didn't get it. And he was miserable at his job. And I think he was pretty desperate as well. So he was like, you can't quit. Because if you quit, like I can't quit my job and I'm so unhappy. And, you know, you don't have that much experience. You're still like so young and you need more experience before you can do that. Like you're not going to be able to find clients and you have to go back and ask for your job back. I knew that wasn't going to work for me. I knew this was the last straw. I knew he wasn't going to work for me if he couldn't see that my potential. Obviously quit that job. I quit that boyfriend. I went out the next day and I just started telling people, hey, I'm open for business full time. I'm no longer just side hustling this. And I booked my first client who is actually a performance coach. So she's a mental toughness coach. She works with Olympic athletes. And she not only gave me work that help me stay afloat, pay my rent, feed myself, but she gave me skills. And I learned so much from her about what it means to be tough and have endurance for entrepreneurship. And so meeting her was just the game changer for me. And that was the first foray I having a professional around. It was first coaching and then therapy. So that was kind of the big catalyst. But previous to that, I had experienced sexual harassment in my workplace. I had a boss who used to put his hands around my waist and touch me really inappropriately in front of our team, the entire team. And when I finally got up the guts to say something to somebody, I ended up getting laid off 30 days later. Before that, I worked in a fashion company where I got a promotion to a position that was way too big for me, but I took it because I didn't know what else to do when someone offers you that. And I just remember sitting at the table with all the executive team, and I'm the youngest person by 10 years and least experienced, and having one guy go, "So Nikki, what do you think about this?" And I said what I thought about it. And without missing a beat, he looks at me and he goes, "Yeah, but you're not really qualified to have that opinion, are you?" Experiences like that over and over. And what is wrong with me? Am I just attracting the worst things? Am I bad? Is that why this stuff is happening? And so opening Kittenteeth was my way to kind of rewrite all that. It was to not only treat myself better, but treat other people better, and decisions about how I want to run a business and the kind of people I want to be in business with. And it's been great. It was actually how I ended up with my current job, which I didn't want to go work full time for at first. I was like, he's going to change, the other shoe's going to drop, and he's going to be that guy that touches my back, or he's going to say, "Fuck you" to me or something. And it's been 5 years as a contractor and now full time for the last year. And it's a beautiful place to work. And I'm just like, how did I get this great mentor who just teaches me what it means to run a business with your emotions as part of it, and just run a business that's I'm proud of. I'm proud to be a part of it. So I learn a lot. So it was similar to when I had Lindsay at Positive Performance, and now I've got Kirk at Masson Labs. So I'm really fortunate.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So what are the type of people you want to work with?
People who are passionate and thoughtful and earnest. I think that's my favorite trait in a person, is being earnest. It's something that most people try to hide. But if you're going after something to the point where I'm buzzing because you're buzzing, then I want to work with you, basically, is kind of how I check that. And then if you're kind and you treat me even better than you would treat yourself, and because I'm going to do the same for you. So those are kind of the traits I look for in a partner for coaching, are people who are excited, who are buzzing off of their art, who want to change the way that they do business and the way that business is conducted in the art world, and want to treat each other really, really well.
So what are some unique issues or problems that come up with coaching people who are in the creative industry?
I'd say that when I first started, I thought I was going to just teach people the fundamentals of marketing. And I was like, I'm going to teach you how to make 10,000 followers appear on Instagram, or I'm going to help you build your email list. And yes, I do those things. But actually, the thing that I've spent most of my time on is actually helping people realize that they should charge for their art, and they're not a bad person because they want to be paid for doing what they love. I spend a lot of time teaching people about how to have an abundance mindset, which has been huge for me. That was the first principle that I learned when I started working with Lindsay, is that there's always more opportunity. So just to define abundance mindset, the way I like to look at it is, if there's a pie, most people think, I get one slice of pie, this is my pie, and I can only get smaller. My pie can't get any bigger, my little slice here. And if you have an abundance mindset, you're like, everybody has their own pie. There's no slices, there's just more pie. We just go bake another pie so everyone can have as much as they want. And so when you have that mindset, you don't take every opportunity that comes your way because you know there's another one coming. So you're being more strategic. And that's something that I teach a lot to artists, because they are told constantly, well, if you don't do this thing for exposure, you'll never make it. This is the last opportunity you'll ever have, so you better take it for no pay or little pay. And if you were really passionate about it, you wouldn't even want to be paid if you were a true artist. So most of the work that I do is actually in that space of teaching them how to be more abundant, how to give freely in ways that fill you up, and to charge for your art where you need to. So that's the kind of the main things that I'm seeing in my coaching clients that I was super surprised about.
Where do you think the idea that you shouldn't charge from your art comes from?
It might sound like a conspiracy theory. I believe it's something that business and corporate world uses as a manipulation to get free work. And I also believe that it's partially because it's so ingrained in society that we don't really know what it's like to have a world without art. So I think there's a good example where they talk about during the Renaissance era, some of the greatest artworks were ever created, and they were created with pay. The Sistine Chapel, you think about pieces like that, artists, musicians, painters, sculptors, jesters, performers were all part of the court, and they were paid a salary, and they lived in the castle, and they were valued. And we don't do that anymore because back then, they made art a priority to the point where now we don't even know what it's like not to have it. Could you imagine like going into a restaurant and music's not playing? Like it's so weird and it's unnerving to go into someone's home and they have nothing on the walls. It's so unnerving when there's not any art around. And so we just fill it up and we forget that somebody has to make that art because we're just so used to having it. So I think it's kind of twofold, is that we have it and we don't appreciate it. We don't have any gratitude for the people who make it. And then also, I think people know that if you tell an artist that they're not true of heart, that they'll do it for free.
So what does it look like working with you if someone were to hire you to help them?
I always start with setting goals. And we start with the goal that I tell them is your embarrassing goal. What's the goal you never tell anybody? Like you want to win a Grammy, or you want to have a photo on a billboard, or, whatever your thing is. Do you want to have your jewelry in Nordstrom's? What's the scary goal that you don't want anyone to know? We start with that one. And then we move backwards. So what's your 10-year goal? What's 5 years, 1 year, 6 months, 3 months? And then we make a plan. And sometimes they're financial. Sometimes people are like, I want to make a living from my art. And sometimes people are like, I want to be seen as someone who makes music for musicians. Like people respect me as an artist and I don't really care about money. And because goals can be so different, I help them craft their journey. So we start with actionable things that build on the last thing that we did. So that's kind of how we get started. From there, we do homework. The first 3 months are me figuring out how much capacity someone actually has. We always think we have more capacity than we do. We take on more projects than we can actually handle. So the first 3 months are sort of figuring that out. If for 3 months they consistently don't do one particular piece of homework, we talk about how we can offload that homework. Do we need to hire someone? Is it actually not important to the strategy and we just need to take it off the plate? If someone consistently doesn't do any of their homework for 3 months, I actually remove them from my program because I do this in my quote unquote off time. So to me, the artist has to meet me halfway and do the work. So that's kind of how we get started. And then we do check-ins. So every meeting, we look at what homework got completed, whether you're a weekly client or a monthly client, what homework got completed, what are the next steps from there. And we're always looking at our goals, our 3 months, our 6 months, our 1 year, 10-year, what are we doing to get there? And then chunking it out. So that's kind of what it looks like to work with me. And then I also have a huge network. That's like my favorite thing to do. I always say that networking is my love language. If you come to me and you work with me, or you just know me, the first thing I want to do is introduce you to somebody I think is going to be a good fit, whether it's a business partner or a resource for you. So my other side of it. So working with me also means I will give you my network.
Sounds very valuable.
Yeah, I like it. Like I said, it's my love language. There's nothing I love more than bringing people together.
So what have been some fun success stories you've had with working with clients?
The barbecue that you came to, Amanda Winterhalter, we're doing a crowdfund for her right now. When we first started, one of her goals for the year, we started last November. So for the year, one of her goals was she wanted to be invited to play at the Triple Door, which is a Seattle venue. I don't know if you've been, but it's gorgeous. It's really hard to get a show there. It's huge. Expectation is high that you're going to bring people in. And she just got invited and the show's in November. And it's like, wow, we hit all of our goals. Every single one that we set out for us. She wanted to play the Tractor. She was invited to play Saturday night at the Tractor. She wanted to do a crowdfund for this record, and we're doing it right now. And we're definitely on track to raise the money that she wanted to raise. It's all happening. And it's been such a beautiful experience to be a part of. So that's my most recent success story. I had another client who just sent me a really sweet testimonial where when he started, he does guitar lessons, but he needed to move. His goal was that he wanted to move to where his girlfriend lives in Michigan. And that was his embarrassing goal. He didn't want to tell anybody because it's hard to say, oh, I'm an entrepreneur, but I would put my business away for the love of my life. And I was like, hey, we can do that. We can make your business online. And he was like, what? Nobody wants online guitar lessons, but we've been able to do that. So we grew his email list to nearly 1,000 people in our first 3 months. He's got, I think, like over 1,000 YouTube subscribers now, and people are purchasing his online products and taking online lessons with him. And so because of that, he was able to move to be with the love of his life and continue to be an entrepreneur. And that was one of the most rewarding moments for me, because I went to his going away party and he had had a couple of beers. And he was just like, I couldn't do this if it wasn't for you. Like, I wouldn't have this online business. I wouldn't be able to do it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I was just like, I didn't do it. You did it. That's the best part about coaching, is you did it. I just set you on your way, and I was your partner and your confidant and your cheerleader, but you did it, So it was really beautiful. So those are kind of my most recent ones that have been really moving for me.
That just puts a smile on my face just listening to those success stories. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So we're getting towards the end of our time together. And one thing I like to ask my participants, interviewees, is to give a 1 minute of motivation. You can think of this as if you have a time machine transported back to your 8-year-old self, and you want to instill the wisdom that they need to succeed in life, but unfortunately you'll be popped back into the present in just 1 minute. Or you can think of it as condensing your entire life message into a minute. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I actually wrote it down. I would make sure I hit all of it.
All right, let's go.
Practice radical candor. Live your life with compassionate directness. Lean deep into who you are, who you want to be, and what you need to be the best version of yourself, the one you're most proud of. Earnestly pursue what it means to self-actualize. Live life like no one's watching, because they aren't. We're all at the center of our own story, and no one is paying attention. So feel free to fail fast and win hard. Live authentically in all you do, and your people will find you, be it your fans, other artists, friends, or chosen family.
Awesome, Nikki. Thank you so much for being on my podcast, listening to your story on how you got started in doing small venues and doing what you love, even though sometimes it can be difficult in dealing with difficult people, and allowing you to go forward and not let a unfortunate boyfriend tell you that you shouldn't do it, and keeping on going is an inspiring message to listen to. And so thank you for sharing yourself on my podcast, and thank you for everything you do to help make this world a better place through the power of allowing people to express their art and get their messages out there.
Thank you so much. This is the first time anyone's ever invited me on a podcast, and I'm so honored it was with you.
I am honored to have you. Thank you. May your day be special.
You too.
And that is my interview with Nikki Barron, folks. Isn't that fun? She's an impressive one, isn't she? I don't know why I said it that way. She gave an impressive interview. And one thing I love about it, if you've been listening to some of my podcasts if you're one of my few listeners who've listened to all my podcasts, you know I love firsts. And to be able to be Nikki Barron's first podcast is super exciting. I love it. When I become big and famous and podcasting the big and famous people once a month, or I would still try to get people who have never been on a podcast before, because I don't know, I just love that rawness of the first one. How just not planned and without agenda. I just love it. It's amazing. It amazes me. A lot of things stuck out to me. It was a great interview. I really liked how she talked about emotion. As I said in the first part, I've been thinking about emotion a lot, especially since I was editing her podcast, but that got me into thinking about how I should be thinking about it. Funny how that works. But I really liked how she talked about how emotion is how you tap into your intuition. We have these things called mirror neurons. Basically, what happens is the idea is when somebody makes a certain face, or they display them for you, you want to understand their emotion. And so you have these things in your brain called mirror neurons. And through micro movements of your face and your body, the mirror neurons are trying to match their neurons so that you understand their intentions. And that is a scientific explanation of intuition. Sometimes when somebody's lying to you and you have that gut feeling, that is because your mirror neurons, your unconscious brain, are picking up on these little almost imperceivable facial tics that people have, and that just gives you that gut feeling of there's just something not right here. So science does back up the intuition, and being able to feel your emotion and being deeply in touch with your emotions allows you to better do that. And I'm also going to go off in a weird tangent right now, mostly because one thing that really stuck out to me was about her ex-boyfriend, and I don't understand that. In my humble opinion, when it comes to relationships, it's the job of each individual person to uplift the other. One of the ideas is a rising tide raises all ships. I know when I'm with my girlfriend, hey honey, I think to myself, I want to lift her up, because not only does it lift me up, lifting her up, because honestly, if you keep your girlfriend down or your boyfriend down or your partner down, you're keeping yourself down as well, because you can't build yourself up by putting somebody down. Yes, if my girlfriend is like, I want to quit my job, I would be like, do you have a plan? Or if you're that miserable, quit. But we got to be realistic about this situation and, create a plan, but supporting them no matter what decision that they make. Because when you are supportive to your sweetheart, not only does that build them up and build yourself up, that makes sure that you have to keep up your game and continue to grow yourself. Because in my humble opinion, relationships are by far one of the best personal development tools out there, in the sense of if we grow together, we will grow stronger. And so that part bothered me, and I'm happy for her that it is an ex, because she, Nikki, deserves somebody who will support her and be her rock. Yeah, that's just my relationship tangent. I think all women deserve that. All women deserve a man to be their rock. And all men deserve a woman to be their support as well. Be their shoulder to cry on, because emotions aren't bad. And also, I'm cisgendered, so that's just my viewpoint. Yeah, I view things in binary, so whatever gender combination or non-gender combination that makes sense to you, that's what I mean. No matter who your partner is, or polygamy if that's your thing, I don't care. It's not for me, but go for it if that's your bag. If you and your collection of polygamists should be building each other up and not putting each other down. I think that's just very important when it comes to relationships. Honestly, I could probably talk about a lot of the things she talked about throughout this entire interview, and make this last part almost as long as her interview, because she had so many good tidbits and sharing. I just loved how authentic she was, earnest, if you will. Her earnestness, her authenticity truly shined through. She's somebody just listening to her that, yes, if I have an event and she would be someone I would want to help me with that event. Just listen to her. That was exciting. And I also like the idea of working with creatives and recognizing the value. I remember I was talking to one of my coaches and I created something for him. I just created a video for him, and he talked about how much it was worth and that he was going to help me build a business in doing that. But I almost felt he was saying that to me so that he could get me to do it for cheap. And it just seemed disingenuous to me to tell someone what you're doing is valuable, but do it for me for cheap. And that's why a lot of times I don't hire my friends or ask my friends for help, because I don't want to diminish their work by not paying them, because I can't afford to pay them. I paid my friend Mike Vadova for my Church of Awesome jingle, and I paid a rate that I felt was fair, and I got something that I was fair, and it was a rate that I was going to pay another professional to do it. And that's what I think is important. Paying people for their time and paying people for their effort, for their skill, I think is important. But honestly, I think I got a good rate on that, how much that would have cost if I went to a huge professional. The original person I get is generally the person who did mine, Shifty Pop, which you hear at the beginning and end, who does Toytastic, and she does such a good job. She does such a quick job. So I recommend Shifty Pop. I recommend my friend Mike Vadova. He did a great job. Listen to my Joyous Expansion theme. It's Joyous Expansion. Listen to Shifty Pop did my Joyous Expansion theme. Go to my Church of Awesome podcast. Listen to that theme. That is Mike Vadova. Email me and I will give you his info if that's something you're interested. Anyway, that's on a huge tangent. Nikki Barron is awesome. And if you want to work with her, book a session with Nikki. Visit her website at kittenteeth.marketing. Or find her on Facebook and Instagram under the handle Kittenteeth. Turns out I watched an interview with her. It turns out, just like me, she's not a fan of Twitter. I have over 10,000 Twitter followers. That's so many. And yeah, I still don't get it. Don't get it at all. Anyway, that is episode 34, folks. If you want to message me, you can email me at BRE2TsDupr2Es at joyousexpansion.com. Once again, you can listen to more of these podcasts at pod.joyousexpansion.com. You can listen to whatever podcast is for. And if you truly like it, leave a like. If you're listening to somewhere, to leave a review. If it's someplace that allows you to do, give me stars. How many you want? I'd prefer 5, but if you think it's a 1, I am not going to judge you. I'll just leave that up to a vengeful God. Just kidding. Once again, I am Brett Dupree, your Joyous Expansion life coach, champion of authentic joy, and catalyst of transformation for the Church of Awesome. Yes, that's the title I decided the Church of Awesome to get. No more Grand Poobah Cult Master here. Thank you so much for listening to my podcast. Just so you know, every person who listens to my podcast, I truly appreciate listening to my words, hearing my heart, and sharing and supporting these wonderful people who come on here. I greatly appreciate you, and also listening to people who can inspire you, and listening to anything that inspires you and helps make your life better, because when you make your life better, you make this world better. Kind of creating a joyous expansion. Raise your vibration, raise the vibration of your family, which raises the vibration of those people around them, and boom, joyous expansion. That is the idea. So once again, I remind you to be love, to be joy, to be awesome. Now play that jingle.
JoyousExpansion.com JoyousExpansion.com. Come and say hello to Brett Dupree. He is an inspirational life coach. Good for you and good for me. He turned my life from grey to blue. I'm sure he'll do the same for you. Get in touch and you'll see your life will change dramatically. JoyousExpansion.com JoyousExpansion.com. Yeah.